On the surface, they looked like the perfect family. A father who seemed devoted to his daughters.
That's in here.
A pregnant mother who documented every birthday, every vacation, every milestone online.
Do you want a brother or a sister? You want a little sister?
Yeah.
You want to be a big sister?
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 little girls who lit up every photo they were in. But on August 13th, 2018, that image collapsed into one of the most disturbing confessions in American criminal history. A man begged on camera for his missing wife and daughters to come home, knowing the entire time exactly where their bodies were. This is the case of Chris Watts, the Colorado father who murdered his pregnant wife and 2 young daughters, and then stood in front of news cameras pretending to be a grieving husband. And even years later, his own accounts of what happened that morning still don't fully agree with each other. Chris Watts and Shanann were both originally from North Carolina, though they didn't meet until 2010 through a Facebook connection. They married in Charlotte in November 2012 and eventually moved to Frederick, Colorado, buying a 5-bedroom home on Saratoga Trail. They had 2 daughters, Bella, born in December 2013, and Celeste, known as Cece, born in July 2015. From the outside, the Watts family looked financially comfortable. In reality, they had filed for bankruptcy in 2015, listing nearly $450,000 in debt. Shanann worked from home selling a supplement line called Thrive for the multi-level marketing company Lavelle, branding herself online as a hard-working momtrepreneur.
I don't know if you guys kept up with that. So we have Unique, LuLaRoe, LipSense, 31, Thrive.
Her social media was full of vacations, giveaways, and family affirmations. Chris worked as a field operator for the oil and gas company Anadarko Petroleum. Shanann also lived with lupus, an autoimmune condition, and friends and family have said she took real medical risks to have her children.
You just don't sleep very good with lupus, and
she changed careers to work from home so she could be present with her daughters. And by the summer of 2018, she was thrilled about her unexpected 3rd pregnancy.
We did it again. I like that shirt. So pink means...
That's just the test.
I know. It just says the pink is going to be girls.
I don't know. Just the test.
That's awesome.
By the summer of 2018, Shanann was 15 weeks pregnant with the couple's 3rd child, a boy they had already named Nico. She told friends she feared Chris was pulling away from her. He had lost a significant amount of weight, seemed distant, and was avoiding her calls and texts. That summer, Shanann flew to North Carolina with the girls to visit family. During the trip, she got into a heated argument with Chris's mother, which only widened the growing distance between Chris and the rest of the family. According to prosecutors, while Chris was carrying on his affair, Shanann had no idea. She was reportedly buying self-help books and planning a private getaway, hoping to repair the marriage she didn't realize was already over in her husband's mind. What Shanann didn't know was that Chris had started seeing a co-worker. Her name was Nicole Kessinger. They met in June 2018 when Chris walked into her office at Anadarko to get a broken gas meter fixed. Chris told Kessinger he was separated from his wife. He wasn't wearing a wedding ring. By the end of June, they had gone on their first date, and by July, they were seeing each other 4 or 5 times a week. According to Kessinger's own police interview, the relationship became intimate almost immediately, and the 2 were together 3 or 4 times a day in its early weeks. Chris even told Kessinger, during a trip to visit family in North Carolina, that his divorce had just been finalized. It hadn't. He was still married, still living with Shanann and his daughters. Investigators later found something else, a hidden app disguised as a calculator buried in Chris's phone. It functioned as a private vault for messages and photos, and inside it, detectives recovered intimate images and videos documenting the affair with Kessinger. The app only came to light after an anonymous tip reached police just days after the murders. Kessinger was not the only name that surfaced. A woman named Amanda McMahon came forward claiming she'd met Chris on Tinder months before the murders and had a single encounter with him in a restaurant parking lot, saying he told her he was already separated.
Seemed like a genuine guy, you know, I mean, he was funny, he was charming.
Separately, a man named Trent Bolt publicly claimed he and Chris had been in a romantic relationship for close to a year after meeting on a dating app in 2017, and that Chris had told him he wasn't sure if he was bisexual or gay.
He didn't know if he was bisexual or gay.
A second man later claimed a similar relationship. During his 5-hour prison interview with the FBI and Colorado Bureau of Investigation in February 2019, investigators asked Chris directly about both claims. He denied knowing either person and suggested they were trying to profit off the case. Neither claim has been independently verified beyond the interviews given by Bolt and McMahon themselves, and Chris's denial is also on the record. In the early hours of August 13th, a neighbor's security camera recorded Shanann arriving home just before 2 a.m. Her friend, Nicole Atkinson, had driven her back after a work trip to Arizona. A storm had delayed her flight home.
She went inside, turned around and waved at me, and shut the door.
According to the official confession Chris gave investigators, he woke Shanann early that morning to talk about their marriage. The conversation turned into a confrontation. Chris told investigators the two had been intimate just hours earlier, then argued about his affair, and that he snapped and strangled her to death, despite her being 15 weeks pregnant with their unborn son.
I don't think it, I didn't feel like I've never done that before, put my hands around anybody before, so I don't even know what kind of force I was putting on her neck.
Okay.
Like I said, 2 to 4 minutes, I don't know if that was 2 to 4 minutes.
Did you cover her face at all during that time?
Both hands on the neck.
He told investigators that their 4-year-old daughter, Bella, walked into the room during the struggle and asked what was wrong with Mommy. According to this official version, both girls were still awake and alive as he loaded his wife's body, wrapped in a bedsheet, into his work truck. He then drove roughly an hour to an Anadarko oil work site near Hudson, Colorado, with his daughters still in the truck. There, he told investigators, he smothered Celeste first, placed her body in a crude oil storage tank, and then, according to the CBI interview log, Bella asked him, "Is the same thing going to happen to me as Cece?" before he smothered her as well. Investigators recorded her last words as, "Daddy, no."
Brought her up, opened the hatch.
And put her in. Okay. And then went down to Bella. Tell me what happened there.
She said, what happened to Cece? Or she asked, is the same thing, the exact same thing that happened to me as Cece?
Did she ask you that? Okay.
This is the version accepted by the Weld County District Attorney's Office as the official record of the crime, and the one his guilty plea was built around. Here is where the case gets murkier. In 2019, a woman named Sharon Cadle began writing to Chris in prison and eventually visited him, later publishing his letters in a book called Letters from Christopher. In those letters, Chris gave a version of events that does not match his own official confession. In the letters, Chris claimed he killed both girls first, in their bedrooms, using pillows, before he ever argued with or killed Shanann. He wrote that he went to Bella's room, then Celeste's room, then climbed back into bed with Shanann, and that the argument and strangulation happened only after that. This account directly conflicts with the version he gave the CBI and FBI, in which the girls were killed later, at the oil site after their mother. Cadle's book has been widely criticized, including by reviewers who question how much of it can be verified, and Shanann's family has publicly objected to it. There is no confirmation from investigators that this second version is accurate. It exists because Chris told it to a private citizen, not under oath. Later that morning, Shanann missed a doctor's appointment. Nicole Atkinson couldn't reach her by phone and grew worried, since it was completely out of character for Shanann to go silent.
supposed to be, I guess. The front door was locked differently than it normally was. I had my son look in the garage to see if her car was there, and it was there, which was really peculiar because Shanann doesn't go places without her car, usually because both of the girls are in car seat.
Atkinson called 911.
Hi, Cece. My name's Nicole, and I'm calling because I'm concerned about a friend of mine. I dropped her off at her house at 2 in the morning last night because we were out of town together, and we were on the way back from the airport, and issues, and she's pregnant. And I haven't been able to get a hold of her this morning, and I've gone to her house, and her car's there, and stuff like that, but she won't answer the door, she won't answer phone calls, she won't answer text messages, and I'm just really, really concerned, and she had a doctor's appointment this morning, and she didn't go to it, and I don't know what to do. I've called him and talked to him, and he said that she went on a play date with her other 2 daughters, but, like, if she went on a play date, they're both in car seats, why would she not take her car?
And Frederick police performed a welfare check at the house.
How you guys doing?
Brother?
What's that?
Do you remember me?
Yeah.
Hey, man.
How you been?
Hi.
You Nicole?
Yes.
Okay. What's going on?
Officers found Shanann's phone, keys, and purse still inside the home.
Her phone's here? Yeah, her phone's here.
Does she work?
Yeah, she works from home.
Oh, from home?
She works this is her lifeline.
Right.
Her car was there, but Shanann, Bella, and Celeste were gone. Chris told police his wife had left with the girls to go to a friend's house.
The last time I talked to her was this morning. She said she was going to take the kids to a friend's house, and that's where she was going to be. And then I've texted her today and never heard anything. But cars here,
Right.
are here, unless somebody came and picked her up. But the people that I know, nobody's heard from her, nobody's seen her.
Right.
Hours later, in front of local news cameras, Chris made an emotional public plea for his family's return. Shanann, Bella, Celeste, if you're out there, just come back. This house is not complete without anybody here.
If your wife can see this, if she can watch this, what would you like to tell your wife and your kids?
Shanann, Bella, Celeste, if you're out there, just come back. Like, if somebody has her, just please bring her back. I need to see everybody. I need to see everybody again. This house is not complete without anybody here.
Almost immediately, something felt off to the people around Chris. Kessinger had seen the news and grew suspicious of how calm and unemotional he seemed. She went to police voluntarily and shared everything. Their relationship, his claim that he was separated, and her fear that he was hiding something bigger.
What I do know is it's just like, you know, that wasn't fair to me either, because if I'd have known, not even all the truth, but like obviously some of it, I wouldn't have even engaged in any of this in the first place. And it just, I mean, and that's the part for me, just like on my personal level, outside of everything that is happening, that is gonna affect me long term. It's like, you know, I'm gonna wake up every day and know that like this mom and her unborn child and these 2 little girls are not around anymore, and it breaks my heart. It is, oh my God. And
Investigators searched the Watts home and found cards, photos, and emails between Chris and Kessinger, along with the material recovered from the hidden calculator app. The Weld County District Attorney later called her cooperation a bombshell that helped crack the case wide open. On August 15th, 2 days after the family was reported missing, Chris agreed to take a polygraph test. His father, Ronnie Watts, had flown in that same morning. While Chris was being tested, investigators simultaneously found a white sheet and disturbed dirt at the Anadarko oil site where he worked. Chris failed the polygraph. Confronted with the results, he admitted to the affair with Kessinger, something investigators already knew about. Then, after being allowed to speak privately with his father in the interrogation room, Chris broke down and admitted he had killed Shanann, initially claiming she had killed their daughters first, and that he strangled her in a rage afterward. It was a lie he would later abandon.
Did she kill him? They're blue. Both of them, yes. She took both of them then. I freaked out in the champagne.
Chris led investigators to the oil site. Using an excavator, they recovered Shanann's body from a shallow grave near the storage tanks. Nearby, they found Bella and Celeste. Their bodies had been placed inside separate crude oil tanks, each with an opening only 8 inches wide. Chris Watts was formally charged on August 21, 2018, with multiple counts of first-degree murder, unlawful termination of a pregnancy for the loss of unborn Nico, and tampering with a deceased body. Colorado prosecutors announced they would seek the death penalty.
When Steve and I sat in their kitchen and we explained to their family the state of the death penalty in Colorado, the possible future of the death penalty, as then we knew that an election was coming up.
Shanann's parents, Sandra and Frank Rzucek, asked prosecutors not to pursue it. In exchange, on November 6, 2018, Chris pleaded guilty to 9 charges. On November 19th, Judge Marcelo Kopkow sentenced him to 5 life sentences without the possibility of parole, 3 of them consecutive, plus additional decades for the pregnancy and body tampering charges. The judge called it perhaps the most inhumane and vicious crime he had handled in his career.
And I could objectively say that this is perhaps the most inhumane and vicious crime that I have handled out of the thousands of cases that I have seen. And nothing less than a maximum sentence.
On the same day Chris was sentenced, Shanann's parents filed a wrongful death lawsuit against him. Chris never fought it. In November 2019, a Weld County judge ordered him to pay $6 million, $1 million for each of the 3 deaths, and $3 million more for the family's emotional suffering, with the total accruing 8% interest annually. A court filing described the toll on the Rzuceks bluntly, stating that they had suffered anger, loneliness, sadness, and depression, and that for a long period after the murders they were unable to work, leave the house, or even eat. Their attorney said the family knew they'd likely never collect the money. They filed the suit specifically to make sure Chris could never legally profit from the murders through a book or media deal. Watts' first story, that Shanann had killed the girls, was a lie. In February 2019, during the same 5-hour interview with the FBI and Colorado Bureau of Investigation, Chris finally admitted the truth under the official version. He had smothered both of his daughters himself after driving them to the oil site alive, with their mother's body in the truck beside them. In that interview, he also detailed his relationship with Kessinger in extensive depth, telling investigators, "It felt like it was true," when asked if he believed he loved her. He also said he had contemplated suicide after the murders, but ultimately did not go through with it. Something former FBI profiler Candace DeLong has noted is unusual, since most family annihilators kill themselves after the crime. Criminologists classify Chris Watts as a family annihilator, a term for someone, almost always a man in his 30s, who kills his spouse and children in a single event. Dr. Neil Websdale, director of the Family Violence Institute at Northern Arizona University, has said roughly 1/3 of these cases involve repressed, outwardly nonviolent men with no documented history of abuse, which fits Chris closely. Forensic psychologist Dr. N.G. Barrell has said the most likely driver in this case was Chris's desire to preserve a new relationship without the burden or the legal consequences of his existing family. Some analysts have pointed to a version of events, floated by Chris himself, in which Shanann threatened that he would never see his children again after learning about the affair, a threat that may have triggered the rage he described. What makes the case unusual is the absence of the typical warning signs. No criminal record, no documented domestic violence, no sudden financial collapse at the exact moment of the murders. Co-workers and neighbors described Chris as soft-spoken and reserved, not the profile people expect from someone capable of this.
He wasn't being the loving Chris that he normally was. He wasn't touching or hugging or doing stuff like that. And he wasn't being as attentive to the girls as he normally is.
Chris Watts is serving his sentence at Dodge Correctional Institution, a maximum security prison in Wisconsin, moved there from Colorado for his own safety. In the weeks after his arrest alone, investigators logged more than a dozen love letters mailed to him, a number that only grew after his sentencing. One of the more publicized relationships to come out of this is Krista Richello, a woman who began writing to Chris in prison and says she developed a close relationship with him and his cellmate, Dylan Tallman, to whom she later became engaged. She has publicly questioned how quickly the case was resolved through a plea deal rather than a trial. Nicole Kessinger, meanwhile, has not spoken publicly since a handful of interviews in the months following the murders. Some reports claim she may be living under a different name. This remains unconfirmed, and she has never addressed it herself. The case became one of the most documented true crime stories of the last decade. In September 2020, Netflix released American Murder: The Family Next Door, built almost entirely from home videos, texts, and real police footage, with no narrator or dramatization. Investigation Discovery, Dr. Phil, and Oxygen all produced their own specials featuring interviews with prosecutors, investigators, and behavioral analysts. A planned Lifetime movie, Chris Watts, Confessions of a Killer, drew public criticism from Shanann's family, who said they were never consulted. Even years later, Shanann's parents have said they continue to be targeted by online conspiracy theorists who question the official story, despite Chris's own detailed, repeated confessions, and despite the fact that those confessions themselves don't fully agree with each other. Chris Watts stood in front of cameras and begged for his family's safe return. He knew, the entire time, exactly what he had done. And even now, years later, he's given at least 3 different versions of exactly how and when it happened, to police, to the FBI, and in private letters, each one slightly different from the last. What do you think actually happened that morning? And why do you think his story keeps changing? Drop your theories below, and if this case affected you the way it affected us, share it with someone who needs to see it.